It's time for the Jim and Terry Show.
Either snow or old age. I'm not sure which has got us this morning.
Well, I pushed the thing, and then all of a sudden it all hung off. It wouldn't take my thumbprint, and then I called you, and you wouldn't pick up because you were probably calling me.
Yes.
All right. Well, we got
I
it.
let it go, and it was just ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing. Okay, we are talking this morning, the Jim and Terry Show from Bob Cajun
And from Pefferlaw.
no Maple Leaf blankie.
Oh yeah,
Are
I got
they,
my Maple Leaf blankie on. Maybe
dare
I
I
better
ask
wash
how
it,
they're
eh?
doing?
It's been like 3 years. So maybe I
Well,
should.
I don't ask how often you do your laundry for that very reason. I'm afraid of the answer. Are the Maple Leafs doing well?
Well, they made this trade. I forget the guy's name. He's number 90, but brand new guy for the Leafs yesterday or the day before. The day before.
First game?
He's played 3 games now, and he's got 4 points. He got a hat trick.
Talk about landing with your skates on fire.
He got an assist in his first game. I think he got either an assist or a goal in the second game. And the game I watched 2 days ago, he got 3 goals.
Now, as being one who doesn't follow the Leafs, except as a fair weather playoff friend, and looking down that road, do you see the Leafs? This trade is to take them to the finals?
Well, that's what it's for. But this is the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I know you and your brother have this punch him like curse or the curse of Harold Ballard on your minds, but is this trade going to tip the scale for once?
Well, I think that's the idea. It's the guy, if you watch him, he seems cumbersome and slow. But he did, I think it was Philadelphia, he was on the team that won. And he also was the one of the awards of the series, like best player or something. So he looks slow, but he might be Mahovlich-like big, you know. I don't know why he looks cumbersome to me, but he's there. Obviously, he's doing his job.
Now you mentioned goal scoring and points, so he is a winger or a center. What is he?
I think he's a center, but he was playing the wing.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's because they had enough, but it's funny enough. He's known for winning faceoffs. He's like the best face-off winner going. So.
As one who watches the Olympic hockey and the international world junior, you always need someone who's guaranteed to take that face off and drop it back to you.
Yeah. And so he's famous for that. That's his
excellent.
Name.
Okay. Yeah. Excellent.
So he seems good. He seems good. Leafs still have a problem where, like in that particular game, they were winning 5-0, and then Buffalo came back in the third period, and it was 1, 2, 3. And I'm saying, here we go again. The friggin' Leafs, I don't know what their problem is.
Third period collapses.
Yeah, but they did win it, I think, 6-3.
Oh, my God.
I know. So they played well, but I think they lost in Chicago the day before. But that new player, number 90, that's all I know him as. There's been 2 guys, and they're both doing well.
Okay, 2 last-minute trade deadline.
Yeah.
So they are pushing for a playoff run.
That's right. That's what they're
Go
doing.
Leafs, go! Flash your blankie. If this was being recorded, you would have your blankie over across the whole screen with Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, I'm
waving.
like you. I'm fair weather. When they get into the playoffs, I'll watch.
Okay.
Usually I'm in Florida when that comes along, so.
So
that kind of hinders watching too.
Now, are you planning on doing that timeshare this year?
Plan on doing something. Yeah, plan on doing something this year. I don't know. I might change it over to. I'm really looking for something. That's why I went to Mexico. Didn't really find it there, but I'm looking for maybe that boardwalk along the seashore. So I'm thinking South Carolina, North Carolina. I might trade it for something there and see if I can find this ambiance I'm looking for.
Oh, ambiance.
Or ambience. People get mad at me when I say it, right? Ambience or ambience.
No. I do like the. I guess it's this touch of not elitism, but a French
Yeah, yeah.
turn of the phrase.
Well, just think about it.
Ambiance.
Ambience, ambiance,
It,
or
well,
ambience.
well, to me, it's like words that the Americans take that we pronounce in closer to what I think are the original, like a foyer, Foyer, the entranceway of a
Yeah, yeah,
home or a building, but
yeah.
it's foyer
Yeah,
in the
I know.
States. Drives me
off
through the roof.
Get off the rough.
That's
It's not a rough,
right.
it's a roof.
The rough and the roof. That's another one. We could go on for a bit about this. The
I
things
know
that
it. The difference, I know it's.
the classic one, because it's always mentioned, is aunt. AUNT. My aunt versus
Oh, my aunt.
aunt.
It's ant.
Now that one, I think they've got us over that one. We go with aunt.
Yeah, yeah.
They
yeah.
go with aunt. And I thought, well, there's something a little pretentious about the sounds of that. But then foyer versus foyer is maybe pretentious too. I don't know.
I love all that stuff, man. I was thinking of having a band and calling them Chesterfield. I just love the sound of that stuff, you know.
Chesterfield, wasn't that a brand of cigarettes?
I think so, yeah, Chesterfield. But doesn't that sound like it? I'm gonna go sit on the Chesterfield.
Isn't that funny? We described a sofa as a Chesterfield because that was the brand.
Yeah, I think it was the company that made it. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
The same as Kleenex, when we really mean tissue for our noses.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. All right, we said that we would get into space and some things. So when I said boom, I didn't mean Obama dropping the mic on his farewell. I meant boom as in light the candle.
Yeah, well, I mean, isn't this amazing, this rocket that they're building? Oh my goodness. And you know, it looks like it might take off in March.
Can I do a Mike Myers one with us? Are you ready for this? All together. We're not worthy, Elon. We're not worthy, Elon. A Wayne's World parody on the Jim and Terry Show.
Well, he static fired for 6 seconds maybe. They tried for 33 engines and they only got 31 engines, which is the most engines ever ignited simultaneously. One they shut down and one shut itself down. But they would have been able to make to orbit with that. It was 50% thrust, and it just came shy of the most powerful rocket in the world with 50%. It just came, if they had made it 55%, it would have been the most powerful blast ever in a rocket. And it's only at 50%.
I watched it live. Did you?
I think I missed it live. I remember it was. I remember you sent me stuff and I sent you stuff. I don't think I saw it live. I think I got called out to, I don't know, take my friend shopping or some stupid thing like that.
Let me see. SpaceX first test of 33 engines versus friend shopping.
Yeah, I don't know. I might have watched.
Good for you. Good for you. I like your altruism.
Live. I don't know. But I did watch it, and of course, this is exciting stuff for people like you and me, who realize the massiveness of this beast they're going to be launching into the sky, the most powerful rocket in the world by ×2.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Russians had 30 engines lit to take their gargantuan and never made it to orbit. Did you see that explosion in midair for that one?
Yeah, they tried 4 times. This was to go to the moon.
Yes.
The moon's way more difficult than we think. So when the United States made it to the moon, Russia was bent on making it to the moon, but they needed a 30-engine rocket to get the payload up into space. And it failed all 4 times, and they gave out the ghost. They said, forget it. We're not going to try this anymore.
So we haven't visited that kind of engine configuration until Elon Musk.
That's right. Now, the beautiful thing about Elon Musk is it surpasses the payload of any rocket ever made. I mean, this revolutionizes space travel. If he can, and if you let him do it, SpaceX will do it. They'll find a way.
If you build it, they will come.
Yeah, but unlike NASA, they're not going to wait 10 years. This first 33 engine liftoff is a success if it doesn't blow everything to kingdom come. Because if it blows up on the pad, it's going to kill absolutely everything, like a mini nuclear bomb. So if they fire it up and it blows up or it doesn't clear the tower, it's going to set them back a long time.
Well, that is the significance of the wet dress rehearsal. Loaded up. Now, I don't think they loaded it full of fuel. I think it was half full.
Yeah.
Just enough mass to help the clamps keep the thing on the stand.
Well, that thing fueled up is more than
15
million pounds of fuel.
Right.
Think about that, folks. Your town you're living in wouldn't use that in a year.
When you and I saw the launch mount stand being buried into the earth, and we wondered, what on earth structure is this designed to hold?
Yeah.
Now we know.
Yes. And the thing is at 50% thrust, did you see the fire?
Yes.
Went right over all of those, right over that, what do they call it, a berm?
A berm, B-U-R-M.
Right over the berm. The flames went right over the berm, and that they said that's 50%. So if they can clear the tower, Terry, it'll be a success. Now, I want them to definitely go into orbit. I'm tired of waiting. So
I think March is the designated month.
Yeah.
So clear your schedule. I'm thinking sooner than later.
That would be absolutely amazing to watch. And as I said, if they let them go, within a couple of years anyways, they'll be successfully orbiting the Earth with a ship bigger than the 747. So,
question. Are 33 engines necessary, or can it launch with 30?
It can launch with, it depends on the payload. Like, quite frankly, if when they do the test, they're not going to be going 100% throttle because they said they don't need it. The payload's empty. So they're not taking any weight into space. So they're going to do it at 90%. That will be times 2 the most powerful rocket ever launched with 90%. When they start taking payloads in space, it'll be 100% they'll launch. The power is unbelievable.
Now, this one, the one that we watched, had one engine shut itself down before the ignition, and one they shut down.
Yeah, they shut down. Some of the readings didn't look right to them. So instead of jeopardizing the whole thing, they shut one down, and then computers shut down the other one. And I think they've already done a spin test, they call it, on one of those engines to see if it works.
Yeah, we call it a spark test, just to see if it sparks.
Yeah. They call it a spin test, I think they call it.
Spin prime.
Spin prime. So they did that on one. I don't know if they did it on two, but they've done it on one. And the funny thing is Gwen Shockwell, the president of CEO of SpaceX,
yeah.
She's looking to launch 100 rockets before they put a human in it. That's amazing.
Before an astronaut.
Before an astronaut. They're going to the moon in 2025. So they got to get moving. Now, apparently what's the organization? Help me, Terry. AF, the people
FAA?
that you have to, FAA, apparently they've granted them more launches than they first asked for. And we know they've built another complete star base in Florida. So they got 2 going. So they have no intentions of failing.
And is there another tower being built at Boca Chica?
They think there may be another tower there, and they think there's a second tower being built in Florida.
So you're going to have 4 launch pads.
4 launch towers. Well, remember, they want each rocket to be able to launch 3 times a day.
That's unbelievable to me.
Yeah. It comes, for our listeners, it comes back, folks. This is the idea behind it. It comes back, they catch it, put it back on the launch mound, fill it up again with fuel, put the rocket on top, the spaceship, like the USS Enterprise goes on top of that, and they fire it off. And remember, size-wise, we can't grasp it with our little eyes. The payload in that starship that goes on top of that rocket would hold the Eiffel Tower disassembled. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, the mass that it can take. Now,
Yeah.
how do they get such a payload in? Because they're
Well,
using the
it's going to
Pez
have,
dispenser to get that out.
yeah, the pay, it's got different. This is the beauty of this rocket. It's so multi-purpose. You know, they have different payloads. I'm thinking they probably have some sort of an insert they put in, and before they put the rings on it, that would be for people. You know, and so they're going to have several different ships for several different things. If you're launching satellites, that'll be the Pez dispenser, and it'll go up and just pop them up like that. If
Sound
you're
effects by Jim Sampson.
yeah, if you're launching big giant telescopes, it'll open up like a shark mouth. And if you're launching people, that's a different thing as well. It'll have a payload door that you can bring out a whole truck
We
out
have
that
not
payload door.
we have not seen the shark jaws, the opening jaws of a canopy. We've not
Yeah.
seen that version of a Starship yet. But on the launch mount being tested is a finless Starship.
And it has no heat shield.
So you only need heat shields upon return. So what is
Yeah.
that telling us?
Well, that's either going to the moon, which I doubt it. I think it might be a fuel depot. Remember, some of the rockets are going to be configured to just hold fuel and fuel other vehicles when they're orbiting the Earth. So this is very much the beginnings of a real science fiction advancement of mankind into space. It's going to make it more common to go into space. And remember, with the configuration for human space travel, it not only can take 100 people at the same time, it can also take a payload, 100 people in a payload.
Wow.
So I think if you don't take the payload, you might be able to take 1,000 people up.
Well, I think if you're gonna send 100 people to the moon, you've got to give them each the 4x4s to go for a fun vacay.
Well, there's that as well, but don't forget another purpose another purpose of SpaceX is this interplanetary. So going from New York to Hong Kong, anywhere on this Earth within an hour.
Yes.
Anywhere.
Yep.
So that's the idea. You would fly out of Florida, and you could fly all around the world to Hawaii in an hour.
So one configuration is going to be very much like the interior of a 747.
That's right. And it'll be designed to take people from one city to another. And remember his goal, to make it as cheap as a regular plane ticket. So, you know, if it costs $400 to fly somewhere, it'll cost you $400 to go from here to Australia or Mexico or wherever you need to go. It'll just go the long way around for Mexico.
So all these towers they're building have to be of such a configuration that they could build these in any place in the world.
Well, they've sold their big water barges.
I heard that. That's a surprise to me.
Gwen Shockwell said they have not given up on the idea of launching and landing on water. So they just I'm figuring they just weren't big enough or stable enough.
That's what I was thinking as well.
Yeah.
And you see an oil rig, they're huge.
Oh, gigantic, like a little city.
Yeah.
So, and yet it wasn't working. So they've
well, that's telling you the scale of SpaceX and their ambitions. It's huge. Yeah. All right. Any final words, anything that you've learned since the huge static firing of the big one, 31 engines?
Well, the only thing that I do reflect on is the fact that, and it's good news to me, might not be good news to other people, but SpaceX is going to have the force of NASA behind them. They have already given them the contract to land someone on the moon. They can't afford paperwork to be bogging down everybody. So I think the excuse me, the heavy hand of politics and everything might actually benefit SpaceX because NASA needs them. and they want it for military as well.
Yeah, I think that it's going to get easier and complicated at the same time. It's going to be easier because NASA, big intergovernmental agency, is now behind them, throwing funding at them and expecting building alongside them. So they're both working together.
That's
And
right.
that to me is a significant step. But with NASA is public oversight, as in Congress and Senator.
Yeah.
So you got to do all the vetting that goes on with public contracts and awards of money, taxpayer money. I wonder if that's going to get complicated as well. So in regulations, they might be expedited, but in funding, it might get tied down.
And it might get all bogged down with people with their own political agenda and crap like that, and who they're listening to. The real good news would be this, Terry. If we watch the launch of the rocket, and it successfully launches and goes into orbit, and if it does manage to go around the world and land just off the coast of Hawaii, then it's going to advance rapidly because everybody will be behind them. This is an advancement of mankind into space. And if you can put politics and everything aside, this is going to be the cleanest way of getting people into space, because it's not going to be dropping into the ocean and everything else. Everything comes back, reusable.
Reusable, and the choice of fuel is an environmental issue as well. They do not use some of the more toxic fuels that space rockets China uses, Russia uses. Some of those are very toxic in terms of the fuel that they have chosen to use. This one is also designed to be refueled on the moon and on Mars. So it'll be interesting to see how they carry that off. Okay, history in the making. SpaceX fires the largest number of engines, and you say they're just shy of the thrust output, a world record.
That's right. They're just shy of that.
And that's only at less than 50% or 50?
That's 50%.
Okay, so we're...
Yeah. And by the way, I think the most powerful... Anyways, I think we can leave it at that. Let me put it this way. If they upped at 55%, they would blow the record off so when they launch, it's twice as powerful as anything that's been launched before.
That's the same vision we have for the Jim and Terry show. We're working at 50% capacity most of the time. We throttle it back. We need a show where we can drive 100%. That will require a special blend of coffee. Maybe I need to look at a military grade coffee. All right, I'll call you right back, my friend. Do take care. Jim and Terry show signing off. All things SpaceX. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.